So this video we're going to fire through what is the best class setup for the new STG-44 and the static SMG, both that got added in with Season 5's new update. We're going to go over what is the best builds for both of these guns. So starting off with the STG-44, so this is the build right here. We're going to cut out all the crap and get straight to it. So we've got the Casus Brake, which is going to help with that horizontal recoil control. When it comes to the barrel, the two barrels that we did try and test out here are the Bruin heavy barrel and also this end barrel here, which is the Fringhur 792. So that is the two that we're looking at here, because the rest do not help with recoil control pretty much whatsoever besides this one here, but that is not really going to help too much because it does give you a counter recoil as well. Now the one that I do think works the best is this one here, which helps with bullet velocity and range. It does not actually help with recoil control, but it definitely helps with your hit registration, so that is why I've picked this one in particular. The other one does help a bit more with recoil control, but even then is mainly helping with the idle stability. But you can play around with these two, personal preference there, but this one cons your movement a bit more as well. Then when it comes to optics, you could choose whatever you like for an optic. That is personal preference. I'm using the Jack Classless just for this one. You could choose whatever you want. Then we are using the DR79 combo stock. The Ingenious stock also works as well. Both of these are pretty decent. I just think this combo stock feels a little bit better, and also it gives you less movement cons, and that's obviously one of the main reasons why I went for this option here. They don't feel too different, so one of them could be meta, which it just depends on which one you want to use. I personally think I'd take the less movement con and go with the DR79 combo stock. Then we do have the 50 round drum. It comes in a 40 and a 50. The base is 30. So taking this into the firing range now, what's pretty good about this is actually very accurate. So that is kind of the way we've built this, and it is definitely a long range AR. Now in terms of TTK, I don't think it feels amazing, to be honest, and I don't think it's going to be anything completely special. But what is good about it is that you will be landing 90% of your shots with this gun because it's pretty low recoil. So similar to the SVA, and the reason why that's so popular is because it's low recoil. This is kind of getting back to those low recoil guns that don't have like the best TTKs, but will still do pretty decent. The only issue with this one is that the mag is pretty slow and the fire rate is pretty quick. So that is something you need to keep in mind, and obviously these targets would be moving in a real match, so you will be missing some shots. So just keep that in mind. But overall, it's a very accurate gun, so that is definitely going to be a plus point there, and I do see a lot of people using this still. Moving on into the STATC-HV, this is more of like a sniper support kind of SMG, not really like a point blank range SMG. What's good about it is that the recoil is really low though, so if you do want to use it for close range, then you can. What we do need to figure out is what the TTKs are like at close range, because that is super important to if this is going to be meta or not. And obviously since the Superi got a nerf in terms of movement stats, it didn't really get a nerf in terms of TTK stats, so it still could be the best SMG in the game even after all these updates. So we'll need to see the numbers behind these two guns here, which we will wait for on the True Game Data website. Now, when it comes to the build on this one, we are using the light barrel. You can use a muzzle instead if you prefer. I just want to take the movement stats that we get here: aim down, sight speed, sprint to fire, movement speed, and the tac stance spread as well. We are using the Kimura laser light. It's my favorite laser to use, to be fair. It just helps with best movement. Then you can take off the optic and use something else, but there's not really many options here, and you can't really get any bigger of a mag on this gun either. And then we are using the light stock, which helps with movement speeds. Now you can use the no stock, but it actually just tanks your recoil control, so there's no point using that one. The next best option is the light stock, and it does help with aim walking speed, which is the one that we're focusing on. The DR hand stop, again, is my favorite underbarrel grip to use when it comes to SMG, so I'm going to stick with it. So when it comes to movement, this gun doesn't feel nowhere near as quick as the Superi or something like a WSP Swarm or the Striker if you build it correctly either. It's not the fastest SMG in the game when it comes to movement. When it comes to recoil control though, as you can see, this is like a non-recoil control build whatsoever, and you can land your shots pretty easily for the most part, even at range there. Now the good thing is the mag seems pretty decent. especially for close range. So you can definitely kill at least 2 enemies, even if you're missing a couple of shots, which is pretty good. Obviously there is no increase to the mag capacity anyway, so that's something to keep in mind. In terms of strafing speeds, it's not the quickest, but it's also not super slow either, so you can definitely dodge shots as you're shooting here, as you can see. What I do like about this is that you can slightly alter this build and then get a really good recoil control out of this, so people will probably benefit from maybe taking off the optic, putting on a more recoil controlling attachment. The iron sights are not great though, so that is just something you need to kind of play around with and personal preference, but you could definitely build this. If you want to build it a bit more for sniper support, this is the build I would personally go for. It's going to be the Zenman compensator, the long barrel, the DR hand stop, the MK3 reflector or whatever optic you like, and then the Guardian stock. Now there is a stock that helps with recoil a bit more, which is the heavy stock, but again it just cons your movement far too much. Now it does give you a bit extra control, but I don't really think the trade-off is worth it. And then the same goes for the barrels as well. If you use like the rover barrel for example, or the suppressed barrel, they just kind of tank your movement for somehow. It just doesn't make it feel right. But this build is a good sweet spot between movement and obviously having decent recoil control. And showing it in the firing range quickly, as you can see, it's a little bit easier to use now, so you can definitely land those shots at that medium range. The 50 round mag's enough for you to even get a bit of a kill at that distance, but obviously keep in mind your damage is going to drop off, so even though you could land the shots, you shouldn't really be challenging anything past about 30 meters on this gun anyway. So, but if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.